Hey everybody, so today we're sort of doing a unplugged video for you to kind of encourage you in this time of schooling at home. And so we're sharing tips from two homeschooling moms, how to not lose your mind or junk, during this time, whatever you're gonna call
I
it.
haven't been on the YouTube videos yet.
No, you haven't. So for the sake of posterity, and because they may not know you, introduce
Right.
yourself to our YouTube audience.
So my name is Jessica Harless. I am the other part or other half, whatever you want to call it, of Displaying Grace. So I've been here since I just celebrated a year with Displaying Grace, just like a couple days ago, I think. So yeah,
So
this is my first time on the YouTube channel. My partner in crime. Yep.
So most of the time we do things together. We do the podcast together. She writes on the blog, so you'll see her here and there. And we're both coming off this sort of weird time in our life. And we've gone into an even weirder time. So,
Right.
interesting.
I took a much needed hiatus after Christmas at the beginning of the year, and am just trying to jump back in. And as I just jump back in, now we're in quarantine. So yeah, just a little frazzled, but that's okay.
We're just rolling with it, and we're just kind of showing up as we are today, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're just as we are.
Raw and real. I thought about putting some makeup on. This is what quarantine looks like. This is what happens. Yeah.
You mentioned makeup when we talked earlier, and I was like, no, it's not going to happen normally. So it's just not going to happen now. I mean, you're just going to get me all just how I am, That's just what it is. Because
natural.
Yeah, because I put pants on today, like they're not real pants. They're leggings.
Leggings. Your yoga pants.
Listen, my counselor said that putting on pants was a win, so I'm holding on to that. I'm holding on to that in my life right now.
I like that's our running joke. Like when we talk in the morning, it's call me when you put your pants on. Do you have your pants on yet? Like we know that about each other. Sometimes it just doesn't happen.
I think the perception here is like, okay, what is your win for the day? I think like when you scroll through Instagram or Facebook and people are like doing home projects or they're, like juggling all the things really well, you're like, what's wrong with me that I can't do that? I did good to put my pants on,
right?
So I think it's sort of this perception of like, hey, I put pants on today, and you might not be able to
keep the kids alive.
I did brush my hair. I promise I did brush my hair. But I think it's also, it's good segue because it leads us into what we want to talk about, this perception of like homeschooling. And so for most, like for you and I, we've homeschooled for the whole duration of the time that our kids have been school age.
Right.
And so I think for some people, they think, okay, well, you already homeschooled. This isn't a big deal for you. And that is just really not the reality, because I think everyone's life is in total upheaval, whether you homeschooled or traditional schooled or worked from home or didn't work from home, whatever. Life is just sort of upside down for everybody. And so, this is just going to be the real conversation of like, we want to give you some hope in the midst of like having to have your kids up your crack, for the lack of a better term, 24/7, because it is the life that we already had. And I think I've seen a lot of moms trying to school and work and maybe they're doing school themselves, or they're trying to do everything, and you just can't do everything, and you're not going to be able to do everything really well. Like that discouragement is high right now.
Right.
Because we want to do all the things well.
Yeah. And like you said, even for us who have homeschooled from the beginning, you were saying some people look at us and are like, well, what really is changing for you? But, we're used to being able to go out, and go to the libraries or go to our friend's house and, just different things like that. And when we can't even leave our house, my kids can't go play with people, or
we can't socialize our children.
Right. Yeah, we can't socialize our children. Now is the real time for no socialization.
Right.
But yeah, we can't, like, all of that stuff has changed for us too. And that's hard. Like, even for homeschooling, when our kids are with us 24/7, we still sometimes get a break. We run to the store by ourselves. Oh, that's how it is for me. That's my break. I run to the store by myself, or, my kids I can kind of scoot them off somewhere and say, hey, do you want to go play with so-and-so? And I can't do that, so they're literally with us 24/7 now. So we get it.
Yeah. And so I think, just, you also have to reconcile yourself to that fact. Like, this is new territory for everyone. There's no right, wrong way to do this and to do what works for your family. And, some families thrive on schedule and routine like we do. It's routine really is for my mental health, if nothing else. So, we thrive under schedule and keeping things consistent. And then there's some families that are like, just caution to the wind, and we're just going to do whatever, we need to do. And so you have to determine, like, am I a routine family or am I not? And right. I mean, I think in some aspects, like, if you're adding all these equations, like working from home and having to juggle your kids' school, plus like regular, like keeping everybody's underwear clean and, making sure that things are sanitized, juggling all of that, you have to give yourself, like, maybe you need a little bit of routine, just a little outline to your day. Like, hey, I know that this needs to be done, and this needs to be done, and this needs to be done.
Yeah.
I had a Zoom call like a couple weeks ago, and I was the only homeschool mom on the call, which is not like unfrequent for me.
Right.
But and they were all talking about having their kids at home. And like, I get how they're feeling. We feel it all the time. I get how they're feeling. But then I made this comment. I'm like, they will survive. They'll survive. They'll thrive. They'll enjoy the things. Like, don't stress. Don't worry about that stuff. Don't worry about whether they've completed things or whether they are doing everything on the list. They will be okay.
So kids, in the end of all of this, when all of this is said and done, kids are so resilient, and they're going to bounce back a whole lot faster than we think they will. They'll be able to jump right back into routine, and they're really probably not even going to miss a beat. But I think with them homeschooling at home, it's right now, I think it's panic for everybody, and people are scared. And, but I think, like you said, if they focus on the priorities, you're at home now. Yes, a lot of people, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people are, oh, let's do this big house project. And, oh, we've got a homeschool. And, oh, now is the time for me to get laundry done. And I should clean my baseboards. And it's spring cleaning, so we should clean our windows. Don't try to jump in and do everything all at one time. Don't overload yourself, because I will tell you from experience that doing that and trying to homeschool is only going to get you frustrated.
Right.
So pick your priorities. I mean, I know, like, for me, my husband could care less if the baseboards are clean. But as long as he has clean underwear and t-shirts and socks for the next day, and food's on the table when he gets home, and the house is somewhat clean, he's good. So, you have to pick your priorities through the day. And
okay, so I think, when we talk about like multitasking and wanting to get all the things done, we have to see, okay, what is the top priority? What has to be accomplished during the day?
Yes.
School the work needs to be done. Most of our kids, if your kids are older, they can work sort of independently. I know there's also the battle of, like, for computers and time on Zoom and all of those things. And so you sort of have to prioritize, and you also have to be realistic with their teachers. Like, if them being on the computer all day long is interfering with you doing your job, then, you know, you being honest, that this isn't going to work. You be happy to work with them, do whatever needs to be done. But, you know, you have to kind of cut and paste in places.
Yeah. Can we just say a quick shout out to the schools and the teachers though, because when I like watching Facebook and seeing the fact that they're sending home Chromebooks and things. Now, I don't know how it is in public school. They may be on Chromebooks all day. I don't know. But for them to be sending those things home to kids who are not fortunate enough to have computers and things at home.
Yeah.
Absolutely makes my heart so happy, because, you know, they don't want children to get behind any more than we as parents do. And just the simple fact that they did that and put that out there it's amazing.
Yeah. And, you know, I think every teacher is on a learning curve and having to figure out how to do things for their kids. And so, you know, major kudos to them for trying to figure this out, like literally off hat and all of those things. And so, you know, we're all kind of doing the best that we can. And so there's nothing wrong with being honest with where your family is and working with your teacher, because I assure you they will probably work with you and they'll be like, that's totally fine. So, you know, working with them, being honest with where you are, and just setting some priorities. Like for us in our house, you know, we're kind of taking spring break this week because mom just needed to chill. But choosing, you know, okay, school is important. I still have to work. My husband still has to work. We have to eat. You know, I've divided the chores even more than normal. Like my kids normally do chores, but I mean, I've divided out even more tasks amongst the kids. So it takes some weight off of all of us. So it's like dispersed evenly and they do them every day. Whereas before we were only doing those chores like one day a week. Now I'm having them do them every day, because one, it's keeping the house picked up regularly. It's keeping things sanitized more often, you know, those sorts of things. And so that's kind of where we are with life. There's nothing wrong with asking your kids to suit up and contribute to the house.
Pitch in a little bit.
Pitch in and do things that need to be done around the house. It keeps them busy, gives them something to do. It helps you not lose your mind over a dirty house and stuff being everywhere. And so,
yeah, because let's face it, with kids being home, you're going to see a lot more of that, like, rather than if you were at work all day. Your house is probably going to be messier. Things are going to probably be in disarray. But when everybody pitches in and, you know, kind of steps up and, you know, you get it done. You do what you got to do.
And so I think what it really boils down to is just being honest. Like, just be honest with where you are. You know, I've been super like vocal about it's okay if you're not okay in all of this. And it's okay if you can't get all the things done. If I could like protest and start a picket line for mental health awareness during this time, I would so do it. You know, because I think employers need to take it into consideration. I think schools need to take it into consideration. There's so many more factors that are happening around us besides just the coronavirus.
Right.
And so all those things have to be taken into consideration. But I think the first step that we can do is just be honest with what we need and what we can do realistically in our house with our kids. You know, if math is not your thing, I don't do math. Reach out to a friend who does. Zoom is great. Ask them if they'd be willing to help your kid with math. Ask for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. If you know a homeschool mom, maybe she has some curriculum that you can use if you need something a little bit different for your child. Ask for help. Like, homeschool moms that are out there would be more than willing to
absolutely
come alongside and cheer you on and encourage you and help you navigate something you've never done. And that's the one thing that you have to remember. If you are being pulled home and you're working at home and you're having to school your children, this is new ground for you. You've never schooled your kids. And so there's nothing wrong with, number one, saying, I can't do this, or number two, saying, I need help to do this. So be honest with where you are, ask for help, and because people are there and they're willing to help. There's so many awesome resources out there right now for homeschoolers, people who are quarantined. I mean, great resources that are free. I know we've used some of them ourselves. I'm like, hey, this is awesome. But there's plenty of place for help, you know.
Yeah, and we need to utilize those things. You know, we have a blog post coming out tomorrow with some things that will help you, and some tips and tricks that we use, some websites that we use. And there was one, you were talking about math, because math is not my strong suit at all. My husband can do math all day long, but I cannot. And unfortunately, I was not thinking at the beginning of the year, and I didn't buy a teacher guide for my daughter's math for 6th grade. So in the midst of looking at her math and trying to help her, I'm like, oh man, I'm really stumped. I stumbled across a website called mathway.com, and you can actually plug in their problem, and then there's a drop-down box that will tell you, like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to convert this mixed number to a fraction? Are you trying to convert it to a whole number? What are you trying to do? And it will do it for you so that you can have the correct answer to help your child with their math. So when I stumbled across that, I was like, yes, that is going to be a definite, like, what do you call it? Favorite on my website, or my, whatever it's called. There are also a lot, like you were saying, a lot of resources out there. Some that we will put in the blog tomorrow, and some that we use frequently. Teachers Pay Teachers is a really good one. It is a website that is created by teachers for teachers. You know, and that's what we consider ourselves. We're not just moms. We're not just homeschool moms. I mean, we're teachers. So we use those frequently, but there's tons of resources out there. Google will become your best friend over the next couple weeks, because I use it constantly. You can find worksheets. You can find, you know, if your kids have to do research papers, let them research. There's some kid-friendly websites out there that you can look for. But, you know, utilize those resources. Utilize the strength of your friends that can do things that maybe you just can't.
Yeah, you know, and then remembering too, like, this is the I don't even know what the right word is, but I'm thinking, like, Netflix has incredible documentaries that they can watch,
yes,
like on wars and the planet and science and biographies. And so there's some great things that they can access on Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever, you know, using those things at your fingertips. And I think it's just, there's also, we did a blog post several weeks ago, and I don't even remember what the name of it was, but it's talking about quarantine survival. And we shared some other things in that article as well, to kind of keep your kids busy. Kiwi crates, my kids are loving those because it gives them a science or STEM activity or a craft to do. It comes with all the pieces that you need. There's also my oldest, she works for Connect Camps, and they're working on Camp in a Box. And so it can come to your house.
That's cool.
And it has all the pieces that you need to do summer camp at home. And I'm all for it, because, you know, this is the one thing that I think we struggle with, is finding things to do. You know, when you think of school, you would send your kid to school for 8 hours a day, but they're not going to do school for 8 hours at home. You know, they may do school for an hour, maybe 2 hours. If they're in high school, maybe probably longer than that. But you're looking at just a couple of hours a day instead of a long extended period of time. And so you have gaps to fill. If you need to work, then, you know, they need something to do. And so then, you know, that's where you sort of raise the question, like, what do I do with my kids now? And we can let them play outside. We can let them do whatever. I sort of prided myself on my hoarding of craft supplies for this very moment. I feel like for such a time as this, where these craft supplies hoarded, because now they can whatever. But, you know, asking some, like, what can my kids do? How can I keep them busy? and your way may not be the same way as someone else's. And there's no right or wrong. They should not be doing, there's no should or shouldn't do.
Right.
And you have to do what works for your family. Like, it's spring break. And my kids are downstairs playing video games, and I'm totally fine with it. Like, they're not going to sit and they're not going to read endless amounts of books, and it's not going to be a perfect situation. It's just not.
I think that's the facade that a lot of people put on homeschooling too, is that, your kids don't have to sit there for hours at a time with you in your little teacher glasses and your pointer at a chalkboard. That's not what it looks like. It doesn't, yes, we're homeschooling. We're not schooling at home. There's a big difference. And, even the little things like cooking with your kids. When you cook with your kids, that's science, that's math. And some people may look at that and say, that is not schooling, but it is. They're going to need those things. It's teaching them life lessons, and they're going to need that math. They're going to need that science. They're going to need that nutrition and health and, all of that kind of stuff. And, if your husband does any kind of carpentry or, if he has a special skill like that, take that time to teach your kids, like how to change a tire, those life lessons that they're going to learn and that they're going to need later, because that is what you can use sometimes to fill in those gaps when you're done with like the academics of school. Then add those things in there, be creative and think of other things that you can do to fill in that time.
Yeah. And, like you were said, that we are not schooling at home, we homeschool. So if you look at it this way, we don't fit school into our life. We don't fit our life into school. We fit school into our life. And that's the mentality that we have. So we live our life, but school comes alongside of that. And, we cook and those life lessons and life skills, whatever you want to call it, those are important parts of our day too with our kids. Because I think one thing that's really important too, if you've never homeschooled your kids, is now is such a really good time to learn about them in the way they because most of the time we don't really know how they learn because we're not the ones teaching them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's a good time to see how they learn and maybe what their strengths are and what their interests are and how to sort of feed that. Like if you have kids who are into nature and things like that, then they can go and explore, give them a scavenger hunt to do. If your kids are really into building things, there's free like Lego challenges on Pinterest. If you have a child who's into baking, which I do, I give her
bake for her friends and porch drop them.
Right. Like let them cook, let them do those things. And so you sort of have to throw the rules out the window in this season. That's sort of how I feel. Like the rules have gone out the window. The way we did things before is not how probably we will ever do things again.
Right.
And, so now you're learning about yourself and you're learning what you can do. And I think if we make a spiritual application here, is, Paul talked about being weak, and when you're weak, that's where God is strong. And so that's why I say what I say when I tell you that your kids are going to be okay and they're going to survive this, because where you are weak, God picks up the slack. And he doesn't expect you to do everything well. He doesn't expect you to all of a sudden become this super cool Pinterest friendly homeschool homesteading mom. Because that's not me either. I can't keep a plant alive to save my life, even though I did get to. I can't. I look at plants and they die. I grow vegetables and they die. Like, that's not me. Okay. I keep my kids breathing. I might cook on occasion. And that's my philosophy on life. Jessica, however, is totally the opposite. She can garden.
Yeah, we planted a garden the other day, so plants are getting ready to go in the ground, and I am all for it. I'm ready to get up early in the morning and go pick my cucumbers and all this. But I put on pants. And I'm giving myself a high five for it. I pants
And so if you put on pants, air high five.
Yeah, high five for pants.
Surviving. We're surviving. And I think that's okay for you to be in survival mode right now and like just doing one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another thing too is sort of sidetracked and we're all over the place, and that's totally fine because that's just how we are. But I think the other thing too is make sure you're giving your family something to look forward to. Whether it's like family movie night, one night a week, or maybe something special that's just for your family, give them something to look forward to. Because I had my 12-year-old make a comment yesterday and she was like, it's literally the same thing every single day. And that is like a spiral for us, and that could spiral us into a dark place in a hurry. And so if we have something to look forward to and our kids have something to look forward to, it's like that motivation of let me do the things and then I can enjoy my people, and I can do fun things, and just looking forward to that stuff is so important, especially when it feels like Groundhog Day every day.
Right. I think monotony. Yeah, make sure I didn't say a different word. Monotony can be a silent killer of joy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when you're constantly, and I've learned that just like in wifehood and motherhood, like doing the same thing every single day, you've got to change it up a little bit. So even though we've talked about having a routine and setting a routine, sometimes you have to break out of that a little bit and you've got to change things up. Routine may work for, 3 weeks, and then you're going to see like, man, my kids are starting to struggle a little bit. So change it up, turn on some music and stop in the middle of school and have a dance party. Like we do that often at our house. And because number one, gets the wiggles out. And I have a little toddler she's not really a toddler, she's 4, but she constantly needs to move. My middle child constantly needs to move. And I think doing those things and being, quote unquote fun mom, instead of always like teacher mom and being serious and getting those things done, that's important for them too. This I think God has given us an opportunity during this time of quarantine to be with our people, to be with our families, to come back to the basics of family, come back to the basics of being with our kids and just spending time with them. I've read so many books to my 4-year-old. It's crazy, because where most of the time life gets so busy and we get so tired of go, 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 go. And I just told you this the other day. Now that we're on quarantine, it's like 7 days a week I have nothing to do. I say nothing to do. I don't mean that like literally, but I have nowhere to go.
Right.
Whereas other days we would be running here, running there, running errands, going to, the extracurricular activities or whatever. And I literally now have 7 days a week where I'm not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's really freeing. Although I miss things, I miss church, I miss going and being with, my people at church, I'm realizing the special time that I have right now to just be with my kids, to be with my husband, and just spend time with them, and bring it back to that, because it's important.
Yeah, and we have to sort of remind ourselves of the basics here. There's no, it goes back to that. It's not going to look the same for you as it does for me or for anyone else. And so we have to sort of pull back to the basics of, okay, where can I find small joy in this? Because you may have no joy in this right now, and that's fine, but we have to kind of pull back and say, where can I find small joy in this? And really the joy comes from, hearing your kids laugh. Yes, they're going to fight, right, argue, and they're going to bicker because that's just what kids do. And you have to remember that they're kids. Right. But going back to like, how can I find joy with my family right now? Like, can we go for a walk together? Can we just stop everything and cuddle up on the couch and watch a movie? Can we just press pause on things and go take a nap? Like whatever it is that you can find small joy in with your people, we have to do that. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be like that all the time. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy all the time, but it does mean that we can choose to find the joy in it and the gifts that God is allowing us to see and have right now in being home with our people. Sure, it's hard. It's going to challenge every part of us, but I think we have to find the positive and find the good things. And that makes it just a little bit easier to accomplish the tasks that are in front of us.
I love how you said, like, it doesn't look the same for everybody. And we've talked about that so many times over the years, and comparison and everything else. But, like, my husband is, he works for the police department or the sheriff's department. So he is considered an essential worker. So he is literally out there every day. Some days, are harder for me than others when it comes to that, because I do fear a little bit with him being out there, knowing who he may and may not be in contact with. But it's okay. But like there's women out there whose husbands are home. I know your husband's getting ready to be home with you for a while. And, I think I'm a huge advocate for marriage and what God can do to change marriages. And I think that when it comes to that, this may be a really good time to spend time, get to know your spouse again. The day-to-day of working and being gone from each other all day, and then you get home and you've got cooking and cleaning and homework and bedtime, and by the time you go to bed, you're exhausted and you barely talk to your spouse. I think now is a good opportunity to get to know them again, love on them, spend some time with them, do things together, to bring you back to that place of, marriage and just loving each other.
Yeah, and then supporting each other, like,
mm-hmm.
There, especially if if your husband is home, like mine is home, and they may not be used to being home all the time, and then they're having to work from home, and the kids are not used to all of that. There's the level of having to encourage them of, hey, it's going to be fine, and kind of giving them some extra encouragement, that we're going to get through this together, and sort of teaming up and being a team. And, if that means like tag teaming and saying, hey, tag, you're it, like it's your time. I've got to get some work done. Then that's what you have to do. And that's okay to do that. And so you have to do what works for your family, mm-hmm. and kind of focus on that, and just don't let what others are doing discourage you. Take what helps and discard the rest, Yeah. Even for this video, like take what helps you and then throw the rest out. And because everybody is going to be different in how they approach this time and season, however long it lasts. Like I've heard, I think for us here in North Carolina, they've said like May 15th, the kids will go back to school. Whether that'll actually happen or not, I have no idea. I've heard other states, they're not going back at all this school year. So who knows what the future holds for us. But I think just taking it one day at a time, giving yourself some grace, giving your family grace, and just walking it with the Lord, being in the Word, and just to continue to do what needs to be done and ask for help and prioritize things. That's probably the best advice we could give.
Yeah. And be patient, be patient with yourself. We keep talking so much about the moms, but we have to remember that this is different for the kids too. This is different for the husbands who have to stay at home too. My husband, when he is home, he's not used to all of the noise that we have throughout the whole day. And probably a lot of husbands aren't. And that's just a fact. It isn't to knock husbands. It's just that's a fact. If they're not home all day, they're not used to it. So be patient with yourself, be patient with your kids, be patient with your people. I think that's really important. And like you said, give yourself grace, because you are doing the best you can.
I think my final piece of advice would be if you are a routine person, even if you're not, I'd say from the hours of like, I don't know, 2 to 4, you should totally in I don't even know what the right word is, implement quiet time. I don't care if you nap, pray, read, whatever, but I better not hear anything out of your mouth for 2 hours.
Yes.
Do it.
For your sanity and mine.
Yeah, for everybody involved, because everybody needs some quiet time. And so, you know, either you can use that time to work, or you can use that time to have some chill out time for yourself and take a nap, whatever you do with it. But there's nothing wrong with making your kids have quiet time. Reinstall whatever. I don't even know the right word. Put in nap time. Like bring back nap.
I like implement. Implement's a good word.
Nap time.
Yeah.
For everyone. It'll be great.
Yeah. I'm all for it.
Let's do it.
I sat last night usually after the kids go to bed, I sit back with my husband in the man cave where he usually stays and watch TV for a little bit. And last night I sat there, I literally was on the couch with my Ben & Jerry's ice cream bit, because that's like just what I like to eat. And so I suggest implementing some ice cream time, because that'll make you feel better. But I sat on the couch and he said, "Are you going to watch TV? Are you not going to turn the TV on?" No, I just want just quiet. Just let me enjoy my ice cream in the peace and quiet. And it was so quiet. And I enjoyed it so much, because we don't have that a lot during the day. So yeah, I'm all for implementing nap time during the day and quiet time.
I'm all about it. All right, so we're going to share the links to all the blog posts that we mentioned in the description box below the video. We hope this was helpful for you. Feel free to share in the comments some things that are helping you right now navigate schooling at home. And so until next time, we'll see you later.